Okay, so my story may sound absolutely crazy, but it's 100% real. For the past 3 years, I kept changing jobs, trying to find something comfortable that would also pay decently. I eventually found work as a night security guard at a major corporation in downtown LA. The building in question is a hulking beast of glass and steel that towers over the cityscape, stretching up towards with its 50 stories. My job has had its fair share of oddities, from demanding CEOs to cryptic maintenance workers and office-dwelling employees. But nothing could have prepared me for what was to come. Every night, without fail, at exactly 3 a.m., a guy would come down with the elevator, check out at the register, and leave. I had no idea who worked what in that building, so I didn't pay attention to it at first. Then I noticed the guy's perfect timing, and I got intrigued. The elevator would always begin its descent from the 66th floor at precisely 3 a.m. Not 1 second too late or too early. Call it a coincidence the first few times, but this went on for more than 2 weeks. It couldn't have been a coincidence. So I started paying closer attention. The guy appeared to be in his mid-40s, always in a perfect black suit and with a pristine Ivy League haircut. Who was that, and why would he always leave last? Why always at 3 a.m. sharp? Why did no one else leave with him? I had so many questions and no way to answer them. Or maybe I did. One Friday night, I was on my normal shift, waiting for people to leave. Sure enough, the elevator started moving when the clock hit 3 a.m. I was watching the floor indicator changing as the elevator descended, and that's when it hit me. The epiphany. What was I witnessing? The elevator was descending from the 66th floor, but the building only had 65 floors. I knew that for a fact because one of my cousins worked on completing the 65th floor a little over a year back. Yet that guy was descending from the 66th floor. There was no doubt about it. How? The click sound of the elevator reaching the ground floor broke my thought process, and the doors opened smoothly. I saw the guy coming out, clean, scrubbed, and imposing as always. He looked in my direction briefly, and I caught his deep blue gaze. Those eyes were unlike anything I have ever seen. They were piercing into my soul, and I felt my knees go weak. Our eyes crossed paths for just a split second, but it felt like an eternity. He then checked out like he does every night and got out. I knew exactly what to do. I went into the elevator, knowing that there was no inspection that night, so I won't be missed, at least for a couple of minutes. I hit the button for the 65th floor and laid back in waiting. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I go straight to the 66th floor? Well, because that floor is not on the building's blueprint. I have no idea what's up there. So I'll take it the cautious way. I typed 65 and waited. Weirdly enough, my heart was pounding in my chest as the elevator kept counting the floors, which was rather bizarre. There was no reason for me to be that nervous, especially since I wasn't superstitious, and I was typically quite cold-blooded. But there was something about this that seemed odd to me. I couldn't put my finger on it. My train of thought stopped along with the elevator. The doors to the 65th floor opened slowly, and there I was. I knew the area decently well, since I've been there several times during my normal night patrols. I know one night, the fire alarm went off at that floor, but it turned out to be just a malfunction. So, I knew my way around the floor's structure, which consisted of a lot of offices and corridors. I went straight for the staircase to reach the 66th floor. What I found both surprised me and didn't. The staircase was only heading down, not up. So there wasn't a 66th floor after all. Except there was. I've seen that guy using the elevator and the floor number display showing 66. So I had to try it. I went back to the elevator, waited for the doors to close, and typed 66 into the display. There's no way this works, I thought to myself, as the elevator refused to move. Yeah, thought so. I reached to hit the stop button to open the doors, and my hand froze in midair. The elevator was moving up. The fact that it was actually going to the 66th floor made my blood curl in my veins. It was a surreal sensation, despite me typing 66 into the elevator display myself. I put my back to the elevator back wall, trying to distance myself from the doors. The elevator suddenly stopped and my heart stopped with it. The display showed the number 66. I held my breath and waited for the doors to open, but they didn't. But I could hear something. It was like a distant murmur on the other side. I couldn't tell what the noise was. So I did the only thing I could do in that situation. Went closer to the doors and listened more closely. There was commotion behind the door, and I could even distinguish human voices, which perplexed me for a second. The building was supposed to be empty at that hour. "Hey, is someone there?" I shouted instinctively. But only then I realized the context. I was at the 66th floor, which wasn't supposed to exist, and I was hearing human voices and noises on the other side. Something wasn't right. Then something changed. The voices suddenly became clearer, as if they were coming closer. I could distinguish everything more clearly now for the first time. Those were distant screams and laments, crying of pain, suffering, and horror. I could hear multiple voices, dozens, hundreds, like a choir, all screaming and lamenting in tandem. My fight or flight response kicked in, and I immediately hit the button for the ground floor. The elevator was not moving. I hit it repeatedly, praying to all the gods that the elevator would start. As the voices on the other side of the door were growing in intensity, I could now hear blood-curdling screams right outside the door, and then sudden thumps made my head turn. It's like people were smashing their bodies against the elevator door, hitting and scratching on the metal. A powerful odor flooded the elevator cabin. I could sense the smell of burnt flesh, decay, and sulfur. I'll admit it, I panicked, and I started freaking out. I hit the ground floor button with my fist multiple times, praying for the elevator to start its descent. Then, out of the blue, the voices stopped, but there was someone shuffling on the other side. I leaned in to listen closer, and I heard a voice whispering,
"There's no hope here."
The screams immediately returned, this time even louder and more gut-wrenching. The elevator cabin was again inundated by the awful smell of burning corpses. I screamed and hit the button again, which immediately caused the elevator to descend. The screams were fading gradually above me as the floor counter was going down. I was shaking, and I think I blacked out at least once on the way down. I didn't see the mysterious guy using the elevator after the night, and I have no idea what happened to him. I asked the receptionist who he was, and she had no idea who I was talking about. We even checked the CCTV cameras at the time I saw him during different days. He wasn't there. It was just me patrolling the hallway and sometimes turning my head as if I was following something or someone with my eyes. I quit the job several days later, invoking personal problems. I didn't tell anyone what happened.